What's up, guys? Eric Prey, Focus Fishing Guide Service, Table Rock Fishing Intel. Got another video fishing report for you for Table Rock. It is Tuesday, August the 2nd. Back in the storage unit trying to stay out of the sun. It's a little warm in here, but at least I'm not out in the blazing sun this afternoon. Been on the water last 7 days, about 50-50, half the time on Taneycomo, half the time on Table Rock. Fished the dam area today, and it's still pretty tough down there at the dam area. As far as our lake level is concerned, we're at 914.14, so essentially 3 feet below normal summer pool. Lake really didn't come up at all with the rain that we got. Rain was kind of a bust, to be honest with you. They were calling for 2 to 5 inches of rain, and I think we got an inch. Beaver's about 1.5 feet high, and bull shoals only 7 feet high, so they're getting the lake's going in the right direction, though we could use a little bit of water in Table Rock. Water temperature, we are in the upper 80s pretty much everywhere I've been all over the lake. It seems like it's 87 to 90. Was up the Kings last week, and we did see some 92, 93. So it is warming up, but it's kind of stabilized. I think we're pretty much where we are for the summer right now. Bite's been tough, but you know, we're catching a few different areas of the lake than we are other areas, but best way to know what's going on, best way to stay on top of it, of course, join Table Rock Fishing Intel, get those daily reports, weekly reports, get the videos that we've been putting out, get all the information that we put out there on a daily basis to help you catch more fish on Table Rock. If you haven't checked out TableRockFishingIntel.com, check it out, do the 1-day free membership, and just see if it's for you or not. If it is, cool, join, you get all that information on a weekly basis. But if it's not, that's cool too, we understand. But do yourself a favor, if you fish Table Rock, check out Table Rock Fishing Intel. If you're coming down though, you're gonna fish the lower end of the lake. The lower end continues to be the toughest portion of the lake for a variety of reasons, not the least of which are boat traffic and guide traffic. Fished down there today, and it was tough. It was tough. We drop shotted for 4 hours. Had a couple on plastic. I think they came off of a shad-shaped worm out of deep trees. You know, the fish were in about 30 foot of water over about 50 or 60. Switched up and started using night crawlers just because the bite was so tough, and we caught a handful more on live bait, but it's just tough. You're not seeing the number of fish that we see in other ends of the lake, and they're just not nearly as active as they are at other parts of the lake. So drop shot bite if you're going to fish the lower end. Did have a few come up busting shad and threw a spoon at them and caught one out of them with a jewel scuba spoon casting it. Really no topwater bite to speak of. And the football jig bite, we had a few on a peewee last week. Not really dam area, I guess, sort of. Indian Point area. We caught a few on a peewee jig out of brush piles, but you know, it was a cloudy day and the fish were certainly a lot more aggressive that day. Going to the mid-lake area, mid-lake is fishing much better, catching a lot more fish there. Definitely want to have a topwater or a spoon laying on your deck because there have been random fish coming up chasing shad, so you want to have that handy. As far as topwater, something you can throw pretty far, popper, whopper, plopper, spook, or vixen, something like that you can throw in cover water, or I actually prefer to throw a 1 ounce jewel scuba spoon and throw it into the schools and just kind of rip it. And been catching a few doing that. Drop shot bite, of course, is working as well, mostly with a shad shape, a cut tail, or a UV drop shot worm, and a few on Chomper's drop shot worm as well. Same deal, most of the fish I'm catching are coming out of trees. I did catch a few off of some gravel last week, but I really feel like the better concentrations of fish are either in deeper trees that top out around 30 feet or on the ends of docks on the cables that top out around 30 feet. That bite, the end of the dock bite, is really more of a first thing in the morning deal, because once the sun gets over top of the dock, and those fish will suck up under the dock and they're a lot harder to catch. Have been catching a few on a peewee football jig and a shaky head out on gravel points about 20 to 30 feet deep, or if you can find a brush pile. We have been catching a few out of brush piles with a jig or a big worm in the mid-lake area, which is kind of a river thing, but they have been eating a big worm a little bit, mostly in brush piles 15 to 25 foot deep. Most of the fish on a big worm have been largemouth, so if you want to try to target largemouth, put on a 10 or a 12 inch worm and go find some brush piles in that 10 to 20 foot range. You should be able to catch a few. Go up into the James. Same deal in the James, catching them. It's good to have a topwater tied on or a spoon or something that you can throw at schooling fish, because it doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen in the same spot. It's been extremely random, but you can pick up a couple of cheap ones real quick by throwing a spoon or a topwater into some schooling fish that'll come up from time to time. And there's really not a lot of rhyme or reason where they come up at. It's just wherever the shad are. So keep that in mind. Drop shot on the lower end, shad shaped cut tail, UV drop shot worm, mostly on gravel points and gravel runouts. A few out of the trees and the creeks, but really not doing as well in the creeks up the James as I am on the main lake. But the better bite is certainly throwing either a peewee football jig, a regular football jig, a big shaky head like the Magnum shaky head with a bigger worm like a Magnum finesse worm or a Magnum trip worm on it, or just flat throwing a big worm, throwing a 10 or 12 inch worm, Texas rigged. Fish are a little bit deeper than you expect them to be. They're not right on the bank. You know, if you've got your boat in 15 foot of water, you're missing the fish. Most of them are going to be behind you. Most of the fish we're catching are in that 15 to 25 foot range. And really, this is where active target or, you know, whatever forward facing sonar you might have really comes in handy when you're on those big flats and those big gravel points, because you can kind of scan around and find those fish. And when you find them, you can throw directly into them. So that's definitely working, and it's definitely helped. Go up in the White River, a lot of different bites going on in the White River. You definitely have a drop shot bite. Most of the drop shot fish that I'm catching are coming out of trees, either on the main lake on bluff ends or back in the creeks. The main thing I'm looking for are trees that top out around 30 feet. I really don't care what the overall depth is, but if I've got some trees that top out at 30 feet, I can find some fish in them. Mostly dropping the shad shape, cut tail, UV or chompers, drop shot worm, and usually if I find one or two fish up the White, I can find a pretty decent sized school. It's almost always spots. Again, have a topwater or spoon tied on. Actually, when you get above the Kings, actually up closer to Big M, there are a lot of fish coming up first thing in the morning. It's still random, but there are a lot of fish that come up first thing in the morning up those areas. You know, get out there at dark and you won't see anything, but it seems like as soon as the sun comes up and those shad lift up to the surface, you'll have some fish moving around you, chasing baits. So make sure you have something you can throw at them if you're going to go up the White River. Then the jig, big worm bite, that is working up the White and up the Kings as well. Mostly throwing a peewee football jig or the 5/8 heavy cover football jig. Have been throwing the Magnum shaky head a little bit too with a big trick worm on it, the Magnum trick worm on it, or been throwing like a 12-inch power worm or a Zoom World Monster, just Texas rigged. Colors on those, I mean, I'm doing best with anything that's got a purple hue to it, whether it's a plum worm or red bug's been a real good color as well. But we're basically fishing these baits. We're looking for the schools out on these flats, not on these long gravel points. You know, if you find a brush pile, it's definitely going to concentrate fish. But again, use your targeting sonar, your forward-facing sonar, and you'll see the schools of fish and can throw at them. We're catching a lot of fish doing that up the White, up the Kings, and up the James right now. So keep that in mind if you're going to run up the rivers. Guys, it is first week of August. It's hot, just like it's supposed to be. We got a couple days grace, and now we're back into the furnace. But fishing's been good. The dam area's just been tough, and you know, for the last 3 or 4 years, notoriously, it's been pretty tough, especially once we get into summer. I'm trying to direct anybody I get as far as a guide trip away from the dam, up the rivers at least, or at least to Kimberling City where the bite's a little bit better. But yeah, it's definitely tough down at the dam, but we are catching fish in the other areas. We're catching fish at the dam, just not the numbers, but you know, we're catching fish all over the lake. Best way to know where, best way to know how, join Table Rock Fishing in town, get that pro membership. That way you can know before you go. That's the biggest thing. If nothing else, it shortens your learning curve. You don't spend the first 2 or 3 hours of your trip trying to get a clue where the fish are. You'll know where the fish are. You'll have a really good idea where the fish are based on what happened the day before. And you know, we archive all those reports, so you can look at last year and see what they're doing last year, or the year before that, see what they're doing the year before that. So something that's available just to pro members, so certainly worth checking out if you're going to fish Table Rock. But if you're coming down and want to hire a guide, give me a call. It's Focus Fishing Guide Service. You can reach me at 417-860-4743 or hit my website, focusedfishing.com. Either shoot me an email or you can book online. Either way, I get back to you as soon as I can. Guys, thanks for watching the videos. Take a minute, check out Table Rock Fishing Intel if you haven't done so. But thanks for watching. Can't wait to hear from you. We'll see you on the water.